We'll wait a few moments for everyone to join. Good afternoon. It is such a pleasure to be speaking with you all today, and we appreciate you taking the time to join us in discussing how you can boost your career with the CFA program. First, I want to give a very special thanks to CFA Society Mexico for their partnership in bringing this webinar to you all. I also want to give a warm welcome to all the professors joining us today. It's great to see you here. So first, let's quickly go over some guidance for today's presentation. Our presentation will run for about 40 minutes, which should leave us plenty of time for Q&A. Please feel free to submit questions through the Q&A feature, as my colleague Wanda will be moderating the Q&A portion for us at the end of the presentation. Also note that we are recording this presentation and you'll receive a link to it at the conclusion of the webinar. This link will be accessible for 30 days. So let's get started. So today we'll provide a high-level overview of CFA Institute and CFA Society Mexico. We'll also introduce you to the CFA program with a particular focus on the flexibility that has come with recent changes to the program and how this may weigh into your summer plans. So first, let me start with a few introductions. My name is Meredith Cowton, and I'm the Manager of University Relations for the Americas region at CFA Institute. I'm joined by my colleague, Wanda McClenahan, who is the Director of University Relations for CFA Institute. And I'm also very pleased to introduce you to CFA Society Mexico. We have with us today Heber Longhurst, PhD, CFA, Professor at ITESM, Campus Ciudad de Mexico, and owner of Elite Market Instruction. And also joining today is Hector Resendez, CFA, Deputy Manager of Valuation and Financial Risks at the Central Bank of Mexico. Heber and Hector bring a wealth of experience in the field, and in just a few minutes, you'll be able to hear from them about all the wonderful opportunities the Society brings to Mexico. CFA Institute is the premier global association for investment management professionals. All the work we do supports our mission statement to lead the investment profession globally by promoting the highest standards of ethics, education, and professional excellence for the ultimate benefit of society. Our large global network includes more than 160,000 CFA charter holders worldwide in 164 markets and more than 150 local societies, including CFA Society Mexico. We have more than 650 universities participating in the University Affiliation Program and about 1,100 universities in the Research Challenge globally. More than 25,000 firms across the globe employ CFA charter holders. So with that backdrop in mind, I'm going to turn it over to Heber, who will guide us in learning about the work of CFA Society of Mexico. Heber, over to you.
Yes, thank you. The CFA Society of Mexico works as it's a local organization of investment professionals. We're all CFA charter holders. And we have currently 367 members distributed not only in Mexico. I mean, they're members of the CFA Society of Mexico, but some of them live in countries like Costa Rica, El Salvador, Panama. What's our role? We serve a little bit as a liaison between the CFA Institute and the local candidates. We help local candidates with questions and also charter holders. We have lots of networking events, conferences, fascinating conferences. I almost want to jump in and share about the conferences, but that's Hector's going to be talking about that. And we just promote the CFA designation locally within the universities, of course, the research challenge, the ethics challenge, outreach to regulators, just promoting the standards of CFA Institute, tenacity, rigor, ethics, trying to improve the market in Mexico for minority investors, for investment professionals in general. Next slide. Here you can see the growth in the last few years, which has truly been exponential. There's no other way to describe it. Exponential growth. I get a lot of questions about what percentage of charter holders are female. That is a weak point. That's something we're working on. There are scholarships for women, and there are also several initiatives within the CFA Society to help women professionals to get more women into hiring manager positions. It's something that we're working on, but as you can see, it has grown tremendously in the last few years. Where do CFA charter holders work? Mainly in equity research, fixed income research, portfolio management, fixed income, financial analysis, real estate, of course, private equity, derivatives, venture capital, structured products, etc. This, in terms of functions, these are the main places where we see CFA charter holders in Mexico. What are their job descriptions? We have more CFA charter holders in portfolio management jobs than any other type of job description. Investment analysis, this would be your buy-side, sell-side securities research, mainly sell-side securities research, fixed income equity. Investment strategy, consultants, chief investment officers, financial advisors. Risk, as some of you certainly know, the CFA curriculum also covers risk. So you see credit and risk analysis, as well as a few chief financial officers. The main employers of CFA charter holders in Mexico, BBVA, of course, Citibanamex, Scotiabank, Credit Suisse, Santander, HSBC, JP Morgan, as we see here, global money center banks, the type of place that we would all want to work in. And now I will turn the time over to Hector.
Thank you very much, Leo. Continuing with some comments regarding the certification, one thing that we like to stress to candidates is some of the benefits that you can get when you become a CFA charter holder. Among them, there's first of all, a great knowledge that you acquire through a very extensive curriculum. So even though you can have a background in finance, in economics, accounting, or some other area of knowledge, you will gain an extra and a very comprehensive body of knowledge. Also, you will get recognition globally. This recognition means it doesn't matter which university you studied your undergrad, you can show the world that you are already a CFA charter holder, and that means that you passed the same requirements as any other charter holder. So you get this global recognition. There are also a lot of networking opportunities, and we have tried to stress and work more with that within the CFA Society of Mexico. We have been organizing several events, even through this time in which everything is becoming virtual. We have also tried to do virtual events. I will talk a little bit more about this. And it becomes easy to network with other societies. There are different opportunities for you to gather with other members around the world. There are also a lot of opportunities to have actualization in different topics. So CFA Institute, for instance, give us the opportunity to read the updates in new readings that they publish every year. So you can be very updated on those topics. And there are also a lot of events that the Institute organize and that they are leveraging the online tool. So it's very easy for us now to attend an event in the US, in Europe, or in Hong Kong, and there are events all the time around there. And well, there are also a lot of opportunities in the labor market. So we are usually in contact with banks or companies that might require an employee with a profile of a CFA charter holder. And a point that is not here, but that I would also like to highlight, is the signaling that you can give to an employer, or that you maybe can give, let's say, to a university in case you're considering also another postgraduate study. The signaling that you give is that you are a person that can plan a medium to long-term goal and work for it and achieve it. So that signaling, I think it's very important. Next one, please. So I was just mentioning about the events. So this is just a small example of the events that we organize almost every year. So for instance, in the first bullet, you can see that we organize a conference on economic perspectives at the beginning of every year. This year we had the opportunity to have Gabriel Lozano, who's chief economist of JP Morgan for Mexico. So he's a very talented guy. And he gave us a conference on economics. Last year, on 2020, almost a year ago, we had the opportunity to have Aswad Damodaran in presence here in Mexico City and in Monterrey. Those were great events, and I think it was one of his last events in person before the pandemic. So we were very fortunate to have him. We also organized a value investing conference. We have done it for 2 years, and I think it's getting track, and we will keep organizing it. We have organized some webinars, like in behavioral finance or Python, just to mention a few. And in the next weeks, months, we will have some other conferences. We have one with Cyril Carrier, President and Investment Director of Lumbia Capital. We will have a taxes workshop. We will have something on GIPS and many more events. I would also like to highlight what Heber was mentioning earlier before. For undergrad students, we also have engaging opportunities like the CFA Research Challenge and the Ethics Challenge. Heber organizes the later one, and I organized here in the society the first one. Well, but those are very, very good engaging opportunities also for undergrad students, which I invite you to explore furthermore. And this is a little the little summary that we have regarding events. The next one. And well, just to finish this section on CFA Society of Mexico, we would like you to show the graph on, like Heber was mentioning, the exponential growth that we have had in the last few years. You can see it here with the number of people that have been registered for level 1, level 2, and level 3 exams in the last 6 years. Obviously, you can understand the drop on 2020. It was difficult to organize the exams throughout the world. And I think it's something that probably will be commented later on. But here you can show the exponential growth that we have had and that we are sure that we will continue having. And that's why we invite you to consider the CFA program as something for your future. Thank you very much. And back to you, Meredith.
Great. Thank you, Hector and Heber. That was a great overview of all the impact that your society is doing and all the events, and it just really wonderful. So thank you for that. So we're going to move on in the agenda and we'll talk about the CFA program. So what is the CFA program exactly? It's a professional credential for investment professionals who are responsible for making investment decisions. The Chartered Financial Analyst, or CFA program, bridges industry practice, investment theory, and ethical and professional standards to provide investment analysis and portfolio management skills. Qualifications or credentials, like the CFA Charter, indicate that the holder has completed extensive training, has passed a third-party administered test, logged experience in the field, and is signed on to a code of ethics. So to have such a credential really sets you apart. The CFA program candidate body of knowledge is the core knowledge, skills, and abilities, the competencies that are generally accepted and applied by investment professionals. So with it being a generalist program, it prepares you for many different job roles. You broaden your options by taking the CFA program early on in your career. I'm going to spend some time on this slide to go over the benefits of the CFA program. First, the CFA Charter is viewed as a mark of distinction. Publications such as the Financial Times recognize the CFA Charter as the gold standard in investment management and finance. It provides a strong ethical foundation, which has been at the core of the program since the first exam was given in 1963. And you can really think about it as a global passport. No matter where you are in the world, you have a credential that's recognized by finance employers. To ensure our curriculum is grounded in practice, we engage with practicing CFA Charter holders from around the world. The CFA credential has also been called the industry benchmark because the program is built around a robust curriculum that is practice-driven. I also want to highlight the network you gain as one of the most valuable benefits you will receive. Connecting with like-minded professionals with whom you can network throughout your career and have something in common with, really that shared focus on excellence in investment management. As I mentioned, we have 159 local societies around the world that represent and support their local network of investment professionals. So as you just heard earlier, CFA Society in Mexico is a wonderful resource for its members with a strong network of practitioners in the field. The CFA program is one of self-study and consists of 3 levels. Each of the 3 exams covers a full range of topics, but with a different focus. So at level 1, the focus is on your investment tools. It covers all the different securities, economics, quantitative methods, how to read financial statements, and corporate finance. The level 1 exam focuses on the candidate's knowledge and comprehension. At level 2, the focus is a deep dive into valuation, taking the securities, stocks, bonds, derivatives, alternative asset classes such as real estate and commodities, and answering the question, how do people value the price of these individual securities? The level 2 exam requires candidates to apply and analyze. So it's not just learning about the products and the instruments themselves. Level 3 is all about portfolio analysis. How do you put together and manage a portfolio in order to hit the goals of the client within the risk constraints set by the client? And that's really the key at level 3. It's bringing it all together. It's taking your knowledge of the tools and the valuation and putting it into an optimized portfolio. The level 3 exam calls on candidates to synthesize and evaluate. At the core of the curriculum and the exams across all 3 levels is ethics and professional standards, symbolized by the green circle there. You will learn best practices for ethical professional behavior, specifically applied to situations that you will encounter in a variety of investment and financial settings. So this helps ensure that charter holders serve as active stewards of the integrity of the investment industry, where reputation is everything and where trust, transparency, and investor protection are critical. So we've talked about the focus of each level, and now we'll look at the format for each level. So level 1 is all multiple choice, and you can see here that candidates can spend an average of 90 seconds on each question. Level 2 consists of item sets, which are case vignettes with a set of related multiple choice questions. Level 3 is half constructed response, or essay, and half item sets. I've also included the average pass rates here because I think it helps show the signaling value of the program. So you can see that less than half the people that sit for level 1 will pass it. And I think that's really part of the reason why it's such a coveted designation. Because when you pass levels 1, 2, and 3, it's really an achievement. It's like you're getting through a rigorous program, and it really means something when you get that credential. Extensive work through practice analysis and curriculum development has resulted in many changes to the curriculum within the past 3 years. So today I'll briefly focus on a few highlights in the 2020 curriculum. There's new content on machine learning, a branch of artificial intelligence that's having a profound impact on the investment industry. The reading delves into the mechanics of machine learning and highlights its potential value to investment firms and professionals. The Big Data Projects reading moves the discussion from theory to practice, presenting a real-world study of how unstructured data can train a machine learning model to predict investor sentiment on stocks. We've also seen a trend with more and more practitioners incorporating ESG considerations into their decision-making process. So we introduced a new reading on corporate governance and other ESG considerations in investment analysis. This addresses the investment analyst's need to evaluate environmental, social, and governance factors related to potential investments. I think it's important to note that even when you become a charter holder, the learning doesn't stop. I think as Hector mentioned earlier, members also benefit from the updates made to the curriculum each year in the form of refresher readings with the new content. So we're always adding to our suite of learning resources. So let's talk about the path to getting the CFA charter. You'll need to pass levels 1, level 2, and level 3 exams sequentially. And you also need to meet the work experience requirements, which is acquiring 4,000 hours of qualified professional work experience. This really means doing work that's related to the investment management process. You also need to submit professional references at level 3 and also apply for membership to a society. Ultimately, after you've completed these 3 steps and signed a professional conduct statement, you will have earned the CFA charter. The most common question we get is, how do I pass the exams? The average person takes about 4 years to get to the 3 levels. So typically, successful candidates will spend about 300 hours studying for each level. When you become a candidate, you receive the study materials, the curriculum. And these are the only materials you need to pass the exam. The CFA program curriculum is the only source material for exam writers. This is a screenshot of our digital learning portal called the Learning Ecosystem, which consolidates the curriculum and study tools into an integrated platform. It houses the entire curriculum and includes practice questions, mock exams, built-in study planners, gamification, and more. So now we'll move on to what you can do with the charter. In terms of the jobs actually done by charter holders, here's a quick slide that shows you what they do. On the left, you can see we have a very healthy mix of people who do equities, fixed income, private equity, and so on. So the major asset classes are very well represented by our member base. In terms of job roles, on the right, the #1 job role of CFA charter holders is portfolio manager, which is one of the most desirable jobs in the market. The #2 role is research analyst. So you can see the broad range of job roles served because the CFA program covers a breadth of opportunities. You can see a quick snapshot of some of the top global employers of CFA charter holders. These include nearly all the world's leading financial institutions, including the big investment banks, as well as asset management firms, insurance companies, and accounting firms. But let's drill down a little bit further. So if we look at CFA charter holders who study in Mexico, we see that 62% work in Mexico City. You can also see here some examples of the types of roles they hold. So note the high percentage of portfolio managers as well as analysts. We're also able to show you some senior level job titles held by charter holding alumni from Mexico. We have a neat piece of data to share here, which shows a sampling of the universities across Mexico. We can see here the number of individuals who are embarking on the CFA program in a year. So this is from 2019 from these universities. So if you decide to pursue the CFA program, you will not be alone. You can see why the program is popular. The CFA charter is featured in financial job advertisements such as these, where some of the industry's top employers call for the CFA charter or progress towards it. And as these ads attest, employers recognize the CFA charter as a reliable way to differentiate the most skilled and qualified job applicants. So let's move on now to exam administration. You've heard about our modern platform, the learning ecosystem. But we've also modernized the delivery of the CFA program, moving completely from paper-based testing to computer-based testing in 2021. This means we were able to offer more exam offerings throughout the year in more than 400 locations globally. Computer-based testing also allows for operational flexibility, which has allowed us to adjust to the changing landscape due to COVID. This flexibility has also allowed us to open additional exam windows and expand existing windows to cover all levels to accommodate those who have been impacted by test center closures. So the schedule shown on this slide is expected to be in place from 2022 on, and 2021 we may continue to change as we shift to meet candidates' needs. What may be of particular interest to you today is our changes in our enrollment policy as outlined on this slide. For graduate students, there's been no change. You can enter the CFA program with your bachelor's degree. But for undergraduate students, we've made the following changes. So take, for example, our final year student. Our new enrollment requirements state that your selected exam window must be 11 months or fewer before your graduation month for your bachelor's degree or equivalent program. You must have completed your degree program prior to the date of sitting for level 2. So this means if you're a third year undergraduate student now, you can sit for level 1 in August 2021 before your final year studies begin this August. After you pass level 1, you can register to sit for level 2 as long as you will have graduated before you actually sit for the level. What I love about this policy change is that you can sit for the August exam before your academic studies begin. The CFA program can serve as a nice complement to your summer internship in finance. Of course, we need to talk about pricing. So there's a one-time enrollment fee of $450 when you register for level 1, and each exam administration has 2 price points. The early registration fee is $700 and the standard registration fee is $1,000. So it's wise to register early and save that $300. There are also a few types of scholarships or discounts on the cost of the CFA program. So student scholarships are available exclusively for students at our affiliated universities and who have not yet registered for their exam. They waive the program enrollment fee, which is that $450 fee that we talked about, and they reduce the exam registration, that $700 or $1,000 fee that we talked about, to $350 US. Scholarships are awarded at the discretion of your affiliated university. We also have access scholarships that are available through local societies for those who may not be able to afford the full program fees. So I would definitely encourage you to go on our website and look at all the different scholarship opportunities that are available. Let's talk a bit more about the registration process. So first, it's important to note that it's a two-step process. You'll register for the exam, and then you'll schedule your exam at the test center. I also want to point out the opportunities that are currently available for level 1. You'll notice there's a July window available that's outside of the regular schedule we talked about earlier. This window was added to accommodate level 1 candidates who have been impacted by test center closures due to COVID. So if you want to get started this summer on your CFA program journey, here's what that might look like. You can study this summer, take the exam in August, and then be well positioned to take the level 2 exam after you graduate. What I want to point out here is that the time between exams, whether you pass or you fail, must be at least 6 months. We have resources on our website that can help you map your CFA program journey. This slide really shows the growth of our testing footprint with computer-based testing. We've gone from 192 cities represented by the purple dot there to 426 represented in the yellow. So what does that mean for you? New flexibility throughout Mexico. So we have test centers in 4 locations shown here. I'm going to briefly go over the computer-based testing exam day experience. Our exams are being delivered in proctored exam centers with robust security measures in place. Our computer-based test centers have limited capacity to ensure social distancing and safety. You'll need to show a proper form of identification, which for the CFA program is your valid international travel passport. And then you'll have a security check done. You'll be provided with writing materials. So most of the time there'll be a whiteboard and marker, but that can also vary by test center. And you're allowed to bring one of 2 approved calculators as shown here. While the exam appointment is 5.5 hours, actual testing time is 4.5. This is because the time allotted for the candidate pledge and tutorials do not count against your testing time. So we've covered a lot of material in this presentation. So we'll end with 2 few action items. So first, you can scan this code to take our 11-question assessment to gauge your readiness for the CFA program. And because this is going to be recorded, you can stop the presentation here and take out your phone to capture it. And then finally, if you need a break from your summer studies, we've recently published a link to the top 10 finance films and how the CFA program helps you decipher what's going on in those films by linking to the applicable CFA program reading. So you can learn more about the professor survey behind this listing and access the full research paper by visiting the link shown here. So I think you're going to find that when you go through the program that it's very relevant, and you're going to cross through knowledge areas that you've learned from the CFA program in some unexpected areas. So now we'll open up for your questions. As I mentioned earlier, my colleague, Wanda McClanahan, will facilitate the Q&A portion with us. So Wanda, I will turn it over to you now.
Thank you, Meredith and Heber and Hector for the wonderful overviews. And I'm excited to get to the Q&A portion. We have quite a few questions, so we'll get started. So the first question I think is a great one because people always seem to really benefit from hearing about others' journeys. So for Heber and Hector, and we'll start with Heber. Why did you initially decide to do the CFA certification, and what was your motivation behind that decision?
Yes, I learned about the CFA certification during my MBA program. I finished my MBA and began working in corporate banking. I actually did level 1 of the CFA program during my MBA program, but once I was in corporate banking, I already had this itch. I wanted to get back to something related to markets and investment. So I finished level 2, and once I was already a level 2 candidate, my resume became more attractive to people in the investment and market side. Transferred over, finished level 2 and 3 while working at Citigroup in equity research. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Hector, what about you?
Yeah, my case is a little different. So my background is, I studied a bachelor in economics in Mexico City. And in my first job, I was required to have some knowledge on fixed income instruments. And probably some of the students that are today in the audience know that there are some relationship between economics and finance, but they are not exactly the same thing. So to be honest, when I was coming out of college, I haven't gone through a particular subject on fixed income instruments. Just the very basics, but not much more than that. And I think I was very lucky because it was a person in particularly from Asia, which one time we were just chatting and I asked her like, hey, what are you doing? I think it was the summer. And she said like, oh, I am preparing my CFA exam. I had no idea what was that. I was very lucky because I went to Google and I was like, what is the CFA? No? And I found a program that had accounting, finance, fixed income, equities, everything that I wanted to know about. I was like, probably this is the thing for me. So I started researching a little bit more about the program, and I signed in. I signed up for the program, and the rest is history.
Thank you both very much. Next question, and I'll answer this one. Once you become a CFA charter holder, do you have to renew your certification every year? And the answer is no, you don't have to retest as far as renewing a certification every year. You do have to, when you become a CFA member, as Meredith talked about the steps earlier, and you earn the letters after your name, you have to remain a member in good standing, which means you pay your annual dues. So you have to do that every year, at which time you will sign off on your professional conduct, the ethics statement. You'll need to do that annually, but you do not have to retest. A question for Meredith. How much time does it take to pass all 3 levels of the CFA exams?
Yeah, so successful candidates report studying 300 hours per level. So I would say that would be kind of your baseline for thinking about how you can integrate the CFA program into your work schedule or your university schedule. As far as actually passing the exams, as I mentioned earlier, you do need to have at least 6 months between exams, whether or not you pass or you fail. And as the stats showed earlier, most candidates will at least fail a level at least one time. So just, counting in at least 6 months before you're testing for either level 2 or level 3 or retesting. It'll take about 2 years if you can really kind of go through it, passing the whole time.
Excellent, thank you. This question, I'll start and then I'll ask the society for their experience with this from their membership. So can you comment on the failure experience of the exams that a candidate may experience while getting through the certification? And so I'll start by saying from the pass rates that Meredith showed at the beginning, so you know that many of the level 1 candidates are not successful. And in fact, the majority of our members have to take one level more than once. So what I'd like the society to add to there is like looking at your members and just in general, what is your experience on candidates being able to go through the exams, with the failure experience attached? If you want to start, Hector.
For sure. So Heber and I also have some experience in some preparation courses for the CFA exam. And throughout the years in this activity, we have found a lot of type of candidates. So I can probably highlight a couple of them. And I will not say that it's a failure. Actually, it shows the effort and the strength of their personalities to pursue the charter. But I know a person who is a lawyer, so it's not necessarily their natural field to know about finance, but his career was very interesting because he was trying to use law for financial institutions, so he needed to know more about the instruments and all of this. So I think he had to repeat one of the exams 3 times. But for me, it was just an example of the courage that you need to have sometimes to pass the exams. The other is a person that I always recognize a lot, that he also had to repeat an exam 3 times. But that he, usually you see now in Mexico, most of the candidates have, let's say, 30 years or younger. But there are some examples of people that are a little older. and this person have already a family and a wife and some kids, and it was being very hard for him to pass the exams because it requires a lot of time and organization. So I also recognize him a lot of the effort and the courage to pass the exam after a third attempt.
Excellent. Do you have anything, Heather, to add to that?
Just kind of repeat what Hector already said. A strong admiration for people who have made several attempts. I think the key determinant is how much time you have available. I mean, if you have a family, if you have, you can pass it. I passed level 3 with 3 kids, you know, I mean, it's very possible, but you just have to put in a lot of time. And I think that's one of the key determinants as to your pass rate is how much time you can invest. It's not your IQ, it's not which school you come from, it's time investment. And many students who I've seen who've failed once or twice, they come back a little bit stronger. In fact, if you failed level 3 times, you know that curriculum better than I do. You know, I mean, you know that's solid. And strong admiration for the people with the tenacity to keep at it.
Thank you both. That's great advice, and I couldn't agree more, because you're in company, you know, in good company of all of our members. The majority have had to take a level at least more than once. To go through all 3 levels and never have to repeat is not as common, for sure. So putting the time in to study is the key. That's have her head on that. It is the key. And of course, life is busy, so that's usually the challenge. Let's see, for Meredith, are the curriculum highlights, so the ones you discussed in the presentation, are those already included in this year's exams?
Yes, because that's from the 2020 curriculum. And you can, you know, on our website, we do publish study sessions and the learning outcome statement. So you can see exactly where those readings are incorporated and also what else is in the 2020 curriculum. So I definitely encourage you to check out our website there as well.
Excellent. Okay, next question, and I'll take this one. What is the difference between the various certifications you offer? So I'll talk just really quickly about the programs that CFA Institute offers. Of course, the CFA program we just talked about, our flagship, the gold standard known globally. You know, that is 300 hours of study for 3 different levels, and is quite the undertaking. Another program that we offer that's also professional designation that gives you letters after your name is CIPM, or Certificate in Investment Performance Measurement. So whereas the CFA program is a generalist program covering many different topics across 10 knowledge domains, the Certificate in Investment Performance Measurement is a specialist program that dives deep into performance measurement. So have management, selection, ethics, of course, at the core, and then why is a portfolio performing the way it did? Is it that manager, active, passive? You know, what is the reason? And of course, reporting on that, reporting against, you know, GIPS standards, so internationally recognized standards. That's a 2-level exam, about 200 hours of study at each level to pass that exam. And we have another program. It's not a credential, but it's a certificate called the Investment Foundation Certificate. So this is a fundamental program for anyone in the investment industry. So maybe you're working in back office and you're supporting the decision makers, the charter holders, or your performance measurement specialist. But that one just gives you a general knowledge of the investment industry, the institutions, and the tools, the vehicles used for the different instruments, to give you the language and the lingo to work in the field around others. It's a one-time exam, and it's about 100 hours. And lastly, this is brand new, and we are partnering with the university, or the UK Society has come out with an ESG certificate, and CFA Institute is working with that society to globalize this certificate. Again, it doesn't offer letters after your name, but it just shows your knowledge and your commitment to ESG concerns in investment management. So that's a quick overview of those programs, and in-depth information is available on our website on all of them. So I'm going to go to, let's see. We would like to know about the registration process. We understand that first candidates make payment and then, or when, how can they register or schedule the date for a test center? Do you want to take that one, Meredith?
Yeah, sure. So once you become a candidate in the CFA program, you would register for your applicable exam window. So like the May or the August, November exam. And then once you're registered, you're actually going to go and you'll schedule your test center and the day through our testing partners. So hopefully that clarifies it.
Thank you. And someone has asked for the presentation material, so we'll be happy to share the slides with those of you who, when you register, check that it would be okay to receive information from CFA Institute. We can follow up, as you all will be getting the link to it, and it will show the slides there. But so that so you have just the slides, we can put them in PDF format for you. Someone asked a question about if I'm only intending to work a family business and become an entrepreneur, I won't be able to get my CFA. And that's the question. So I'll start and then I'll ask the society for their thoughts on this. I know that the professional work experience to get the charter, it has to be paid experience. So working, if it's a family business that you're not being paid for, it doesn't count as the work experience that's required. But I'm wondering if the society has any insight on work as an entrepreneur or anything that you've seen with your members who have come about it that way. Either one of you.
Yeah, the way I understood the question was a little bit more related to the work requirement.
Yeah.
Yeah. And yeah, I'm not exactly sure. I mean, I think that one, I know that the work requirement includes things that I didn't think it included, such as academics and other things. Right. It is broader than I thought.
Right.
But as far as the work requirement question, I think that is what you already answered.
Okay, yeah, and to your point, there has been some changes recently to be more flexible. Instead of 4 years, it's now 4,000 hours over 36 months. Instead of being full-time, now part-time can, and also internships can also qualify as long as they're paid. So the thing about a family business is if you're working a family business, you're typically not being paid for it. So therefore it wouldn't count. But other roles that you may have could lead to covering the work requirement. And if you go on our website, we have a really nice assessment tool that can help you to plug in the different things that you're doing that are for paid employment and determine if they're going to count. So I have a question, Meredith. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry. Did you have something to add there?
Just if I may add, Wanda.
Yes.
Your experience does not need to be on portfolio manager, let's say. Sometimes the undergrad students tend to think like, oh, but my job is, let's say I am making these reports with the performance of the portfolio, but I am not the one who's making the decisions, or I am not a sales side analyst already. So you don't need to have those kind of jobs for accumulating this kind of experience. I just want to mention that.
Thank you for that clarification. That's an excellent point. It's like both you and Heber had hit on. It's basically making decisions or work supporting the decision making. So you could be working on a product, a research report, something that's going to help those who are making the decisions to make the decision. And you have impacted the decision making process through your work. And also, as Heber talked about, being academic, teaching those who are making investment decisions. So that's how our professors can meet the work requirement, although most of them have practitioner experience as well. So thank you for that. the question was, how can we affiliate our university? So just a quick overview, Meredith, if you don't mind, of how to become affiliated, that would be
Yeah,
great.
sure. So that's a great question. So our university affiliation program recognizes universities that incorporate a significant percentage of the CFA program candidate body of knowledge topics into a specific degree program, including the CFA Institute Code of Ethics and Standards of Professional Conduct that needs to be in the degree program. So it is an application process. In its most simple form, you would express your interest to CFA Institute, and we would go ahead and review your program. You would submit syllabi for your courses. We could validate that your curriculum is a match with the CFA program candidate body of knowledge topics, also having, you know, a letter of support from your university. So quickest way is just to send us an email and we would be happy to start the discussion if you are interested. And as mentioned earlier, we have more than 650 affiliated universities globally. So quite a popular program and comes with a set of benefits, and scholarships were one of those benefits that I talked about earlier. So feel free to reach out.
Thank you. Question here, I'll take it. To sit for level 1, do you have to have work experience? And no, you do not. You can earn your work experience before the exams, during the exams, or after the exams. It's before you would get CFA, the CFA letters and complete the CFA charter requirements. You have to have the work experience then, but you could actually set for all 3 levels without the work experience and then work towards the work experience, the exams under your belt. So Meredith, if you wouldn't mind, someone is trying to get clarity on the total fee. If you wouldn't mind repeating it and explaining each fee.
Yep. Okay. So there's an initial enrollment fee when you're a first-time candidate, when you're entering the CFA program initially. You would pay a $450 enrollment fee. Then each exam has a different price point. So there's an early registration fee that would be $700, or if you miss that early registration fee, you would be moving on to the standard registration fee, which is $1,000. So a new level 1 candidate would be about $1,150 total if you were to register by that first registration deadline. If you were at the standard registration deadline, so that's that $1,000 fee, your total would be $1,450 for the exam. Again, we do have different scholarship programs, access scholarships, women's scholarships, and then scholarships through our affiliated universities that reduce the exam registration fee down to $350, and it waives that enrollment fee. So a scholarship recipient would just pay the $350 for a student or women's. Access is actually a little bit lower of a price point at $250 for that discount.
Thank you. Thank you very much. We have a lot of questions that I'm going to combine because they're hitting on the same thing. So they're asking about the curriculum and if there are different books that should be bought, other suggested literature to prepare for the program, and also the link to your digital prep course. So I'll start, I'm going to send this over to the society, but I'll mention that the curriculum that you get with registration, you do get the full curriculum. So if you're level 1 through 3, whichever it is, it's online in the learning ecosystem. And so that would be the primary course of study. So I'd like to ask the society to talk a bit about their digital prep course. And if you wouldn't mind popping in the link to that in the chat feature so that everyone can see it after we finish this question, that would be great for those who are interested.
Yeah. Do you mind if I start here? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
so there are several preparation courses here in Mexico. There's one organized by CFA Society, and I would endorse you to send us a message to the email that is there, info@cfamexico.org. and our executive director, Guillermina, will get you back with the details. I will stress that it's not the only course, so you can analyze the different options that are around. But even on top of that, I would mention that the CFA program is designed as a self-study program. So whenever you are considering a preparation course, I would also like to stress that, at least from our perspective in the Society of Mexico, we consider that these courses are a tool for you to have some summary of the information, do more exercises, can address your questions to a professional or an instructor. So it's a complement on your preparation, but it's not a substitute because the program is designed as a self-study program. But of course, we are more than open to receive you in our courses, and more information in the email that I just mentioned. I don't know if Heber wants to complement.
No, I wear different hats. I have my own course, but right now I'm as a representative of the CFA Society. And so you can contact Guillermina. It's info@CFA Mexico. I think that she has an email that's also staff@cfamexico.org.
Oh, yes.
If you're interested in other things, there's several other courses. There's lots of different courses, but right now I have my hat on as a representative of the CFA Society.
Yeah, and if I just add a little bit more, you have the email there, but you can also contact us in Twitter, LinkedIn, and that you will get a response very quickly if you contact us through those networks as well.
Excellent. Thank you. The next two questions, I'll kind of combine. They're for the society as well. Someone just registered for the November Level 1 exam, and as a candidate, they're wondering if they have access to content from CFA Mexico. And also someone's wondering if they pass Level 1, do they get benefit from CFA Mexico? So if maybe one of you can talk about the benefits or offerings that you have for candidates through the society, and also for networking events. At what point can candidates become able to take advantage of the offerings that you have? Do you want to start, Heber?
Yeah, I can do that. You don't have to be a CFA charter holder to be a member of the CFA Society. You could even be a Level 1 candidate without even having passed yet. There are different fees for members and for non-members, that is true, but the events, the networking events, the education, the information, the conference at the beginning of the year about the outlook expected for the economy and markets during the year, all of that is available. Even you don't have to be a charter holder.
Excellent. Okay, these are more for the society, but really good questions here everyone will benefit from. What advice would you give someone who would like to become a CFA about his first job? Any suggestion on career paths? So Hector, do you have any thoughts you want to start with first job?
I think actually the CFA program can help you a lot with that, because you will have an overview on different areas of knowledge, from equity research to fixed income to portfolio management, derivatives. So it will open your outlook on the different paths that you can take, and go for the one that you think you will like more. To be honest, Mexico opportunities, I think, are growing a lot. There are opportunities in the financial sector for undergrads. It might take some time. You might need to network and work hard for the opportunity that you want to pursue, but I'm sure you can achieve it, and it will be easier when you know the different characteristics of each position.
Building quickly off of what Hector said, I mean, as a professor, I have lots of students, not only related to the CFA program, but undergrad, graduate students who ask what they should do for their first job. And I think many times we're looking for someone else to give us advice exactly where we should start, what we should do, what's the quickest path. And my answer in many cases echoes a little bit what Hector said. Once you have an exposure to everything, move with whatever generates the most passion, the most excitement. My answer won't be yours.
Excellent. A question here is, I recently graduated in December, but I'm not currently working in a finance related job. Can I enroll for the first phase even though? So for level 1, yes, you can. So you don't have to have that work experience until you're ready to complete the CFA program and become a charter holder, but you can enroll for level 1 without the work experience. And Meredith, can the CFA help you get a job in another country?
Yeah, so that is a great question. So yes, so the CFA is considered like what I talked about, the global passport. And that is because it is the same program regardless of where you are in the world. So someone taking the exam in Mexico is going to have the same experience, the same exam in London, in Japan, in Australia. And so the finance employers as well throughout the world recognize the value of the CFA charter, and they know your experience and what you've gone through, what knowledge, those knowledge, skills, and abilities that you've obtained while you're pursuing the charter. So it definitely helps you have mobility in your career if you decide that you want to live abroad.
Excellent. A question about the curriculum for 2022, and I'll take that. When is it going to be available? And so the 2022 exams, the curriculum runs on the calendar year. So all the windows that we have for the exam windows that will come in 2020-22 will be based on that curriculum. So it will be available when the window opens for registration. So that would be in May. They would be ready because that's when it would open up for level 1 and 2 for the next windows that will be testing through 2022. So after May, I think maybe the question is wondering, if the curriculum will always be ready for those new windows and that new structure, and you will always be provided with the latest. So if you register for any window in 2022, you will get the correct and updated curriculum. And there's a question, some candidates would like to know if for level 3 candidates will be essay. So Meredith, would you mind just quickly highlighting the format at level 3, please?
So half of the format is essay, and it's not, doesn't sound as scary as it is, not like a full research paper. It just means, an open response. And then half of the exam is the item sets. So that's where you're given a short case vignette, and then there's multiple choice questions related to that, that case.
Excellent. Thank you. So someone is asking, I think this is a good question for the society. Is the CFA certification a useful tool to change industries from corporates to the financial sector? So if you want to, Heber, if you wouldn't mind.
That's how I did it.
Mm-hmm.
That's my answer. I mean, I was in banking, but I was on the corporate side, and it wasn't for me. And the way I made the change was the CFA program.
Excellent. And someone is asking, let's see, what would be some differences between a CFA and a Master of Finance? And this is going to need to be the last question because we're running up on the hour. And since we have a professor here, Heber, would you mind answering the question between the differences of the CFA and a Master in Finance?
I would say that instead of seeing them as replacements, many charter holders, not all, also have master's degrees, not all, but kind of see it as a complement. I mean, in my master's program, I got more leadership strategy. The things I know about marketing came more from there, from the CFA program. My master's program was strong in some areas, wasn't as close to as strong in finance as the CFA program. Other programs might be stronger in finance than where I did my MBA. Mine was stronger in international business, so I felt it was a little lacking in finance. And the CFA program is intense. It's self-study. I think that's a big difference. My master's program, you meet a lot of friends. CFA program, it's self-study, which has its benefits too, because you're not dealing with teams. But you know, it's got its benefits. And I think, of course, multiple choice test, 100% test-based versus maybe more project-based type of assignments. There's obviously differences. I would say, look, again, as I said before, my answer might not be your answer. Think deeply about what you're really looking for. Maybe it might make sense to do one, maybe the other, maybe both.
Excellent advice. Excellent advice. So with that, I'm sorry we didn't get to some of the questions. A lot of them are very similar. They're just worded differently. So I do hope that you did get the information you need. If not, I'd send you to our website. There's a wealth of information out there about the CFA program, the work experience, the materials that you'll study by, as well as reaching out to both CFA Institute or the Society through email with questions specific for us. And just a reminder that you will get a link with the recording. And I promised everyone that I would send the slides, and I think that will answer some of your questions as well. So that will come in 2 separate emails. The video link will be good for 30 days, and we'd like you to, if you don't mind, take a moment and fill out the survey for us. And with that, I want to thank everyone for the great questions, the incredible amount of interest you've got in the program. I want to wish you the best with your academic studies, as well as your CFA program and your other career endeavors. And thank you so much for joining us. Have a good evening. Thank you.
Thanks.